With Radio Algeria International, you will not miss a single major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
Algeria has denounced the shameful nature of petition filed by Mali before the International Court of Justice, ICJ, on September 16, calling it a maneuver, emphasizing its intention to notify the ICJ of its rejection of this petition in due course. The UN General Assembly has adopted a resolution allowing Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas to make a statement via video conference during its high-level meetings. And the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has affirmed his support for the two-state solution and urged for immediate measure to address the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, stressing that the ongoing massacre in Gaza must end and an immediate ceasefire is needed. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. Good afternoon. First in our news, Algeria has denounced the shameless nature of a petition filed by Mali before the International Court of Justice, ICJ, on September 16, calling it a maneuver, emphasizing its intention to notify the ICJ of its rejection of this petition in due course. Asabakar has more details in this file.
The Malian government announced that it had filed on September 4, 2025, an application instituting proceedings against Algeria with the International Court of Justice, which the Algerian diplomacy chief Ahmed Attaf denied in a press conference on September 13th. Faced with this statement, the Malian authorities resolved to file this request on September 16th. The Algerian Foreign Affairs Ministry noted a striking paradox regarding Mali's approach. This paradox lies in seeing the Malian junta, which has trampled on legality and constitutional order in its country, care about the law it disregards domestically and to which it falsely claims to adhere internationally. It also notes that this same junta has led Mali to political, economic and security disaster and is itself the instigator of moral bankruptcy. Mali's approach to the International Court of Justice clearly stems from an attempt to exploit this judicial body of the United Nations in a desperate attempt to find a scapegoat that would absolve it of its responsibilities for the tragedy it is inflicting on our brotherly Mali. The Algerian Foreign Ministry said this maneuver is too blatant to be credible, stressing that Algeria will not be complicit in it and denounces its shameless nature. Algeria has a too high opinion of international law, just as it has profound respect for the International Court of Justice. It has a duty not to allow them to be the subject of a diversion that is as proven as it is ridiculous. Algeria will notify the International Court of Justice in due course of its rejection of this maneuver.
Still with the domestic file entrusted by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, the Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Mr. Ahmed Attaf, has arrived in New York to participate in the high-level segment of the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly, held under the theme Better Together, more than 80 years of peace, development and human rights. Mariam Barshi has more.
On the occasion, Mr. Attaf will represent Algeria in the general debate of the General Assembly due to be held between the 23rd and 30th of September 2025 and will take part in several high-level meetings at the UN Security Council, including the debate session scheduled at the request of Algeria and several Islamic countries on the Palestinian issue, as well as the meeting convened by the Republic of Korea, which holds the presidency of the Security Council during the month of September, on artificial intelligence and its implications for international peace and security. On the sidelines of the high-level segment of the General Assembly's proceedings, the Minister of State will participate in scheduled meetings within the framework of the geopolitical groups to which our country belongs, such as the League of Arab States, the African Union, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, and the Non-Aligned Movement, and the G77 plus China. Mr. Attaf will also have several bilateral meetings with his counterparts from sister countries, friends and partners of Algeria, as well as with several officials from the United Nations and other international organizations.
And as we said in the headlines, the UN General Assembly has adopted a resolution on the participation of the State of Palestine in its high-level meetings. Asabakar develops.
A statement by President Mahmoud Abbas will be broadcast in the Assembly Hall during the general debate after being introduced by its representative present in the hall. This resolution, which was passed with 145 votes in favor, 5 against and 6 abstentions, also allows the State of Palestine to deliver a video statement or submit a recorded statement at the sessions of the high-level conference on the settlement of the Palestinian question and the two-state solution. It will also allow Palestine to submit recorded statements by its president or another high-level representative at any high-level meeting, United Nations conference or international meetings held under the aegis of the General Assembly. The resolution clarified that these procedures apply only during the 18th session of the General Assembly, emphasizing the need to enable representatives of the State of Palestine to participate in person in relevant meetings at the United Nations in New York. The resolution expressed concern over instances in which representatives are prevented from participating in General Assembly meetings and regretted the decision of the United States to deny visas to representatives of the State of Palestine and to revoke the visas granted to them prior to the 18th session of the General Assembly, thus preventing them from physically participating in UN meetings. It called for an immediate reversal of this decision. It's worth recalling that the United States announced in late August that it had denied entry visas to senior Palestinian Authority officials, including President Mahmoud Abbas, and had revoked existing visas, preventing them from attending the upcoming UN General Assembly meeting in New York.
Portugal has announced that it will officially recognize the State of Palestine tomorrow, just before the 80th session of the UN General Assembly. On Monday in New York, on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, 10 countries, including France, are expected to proceed with the recognition of the State of Palestine. Portugal has joined France, which initiated the initiative, along with Andorra, Australia, Belgium, Canada, Luxembourg, Malta, San Marino, and the United Kingdom. 140 heads of state and government are expected in New York next week for the UN's annual High Mass, where the future of the Palestinians and Gaza will be the focus of attention, even in the absence of Mahmoud Abbas. Starting in 2 days, a summit co-chaired by France and Saudi Arabia will examine the future of the two-state solution, living side by side in peace and security. Approximately 3/4 of the 193 UN member states recognize the Palestinian state proclaimed by the Palestinian leadership in exile in 1988. And the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has affirmed his support for the two-state solution and urged for immediate measures to address the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, stressing that the ongoing massacre in Gaza must end and an immediate ceasefire is needed. This came during his meeting with the Under-Secretary General for Global Communication, Melissa Fleming, last night, where he affirmed that peace and security will be a major focus of discussions at the UN high-level meeting next week, highlighting global crises such as wars, climate change, inequality, and technological risks. Ahead of the General Assembly's high-level week, Guterres called on world leaders to change course and enhance cooperation to address common challenges. The Secretary General stressed that the two-state solution is the only solution, adding that one-state solution in which the Palestinian people would have no rights and many of them would be kicked out of their land is something completely unacceptable in the 21st century. Let's listen to Mr. Guterres.
Well, first of all, I believe that there will be a clear demonstration that the overwhelming majority of the countries in the world recognize the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination, recognize that there must be a Palestinian state, and recognize it in the meeting we'll have on Monday, and at the same time send a very clear message that the carnage that is happening in Gaza has to end, that we need a ceasefire immediately, with the release of all hostages immediately too, and with effective humanitarian aid in Gaza that is suffering the highest level of death and destruction that I've seen since I'm Secretary General. On the other hand, to have a clear affirmation that there is no alternative to the two-state solution. A one-state solution in which the Palestinian people would have no rights and many of them would be kicked out of their land is something completely unacceptable 21st century.
That was the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. And in the Gaza Strip, at least 34 Palestinians were killed and 200 others wounded over the last 24 hours as the ongoing Israeli genocide in the region pursue for the 23rd month in a row. Local health authorities confirmed that the Palestinian death toll from the Israeli onslaught since October 2023 has risen to 65,208 casualties. Emergency services are still unable to reach many casualties trapped under the rubble or scattered on roads across the war-torn enclave. UNRWA's acting public information officer in Gaza, Ines Hamdan, stressed that the forced displacement of the Palestinian populations towards the south area or the southern area of the Strip is a clear violation of international law. Let's listen to her.
للأسف المعاناة تستمر ضمن هذا الكابوس.
Unfortunately, the suffering continues in this endless nightmare in the Gaza Strip, especially in Gaza City, where military operations are intensifying, and there is also a possible imminent ground military operation. This increases the distress of the population. These residents of Gaza City are being pushed south into a small area that lacks any capabilities, services, facilities, or infrastructure, and is being bombed in clear violation of all humanitarian laws. What exacerbates the humanitarian excuse is that until this moment, UNRWA has not been allowed to bring in relief supplies, which unfortunately are greatly needed into the Gaza Strip.
Meanwhile, the Arab Parliament has held the UN Independent International Commission of Inquiry report accusing the Israeli occupying forces of committing serious crimes against Palestinian civilians in Gaza, including genocide. In a statement issued, the Speaker of the Arab Parliament, Mohammed bin Ahmed al-Yamahi, said the report was a strong condemnation of Israel's policies and highlighted the humanitarian suffering of Gaza, especially among children, women, and the elderly. In Sudan, more than 70 people have been killed when paramilitary Rapid Support Forces RSF carried out a drone strike on a mosque in al-Fashir. The paramilitary forces has laid siege to the city, which is the capital of North Darfur state, since the early days of the conflict. The Sudanese army said the RSF committed a horrific crime by striking worshippers at Al-Shafiya mosque during Friday morning prayers with a drone. And Venezuelan Attorney General Tariq William Saab has called on the United Nations to investigate the U.S. strikes announced by President Donald Trump that destroyed 3 boats in the Caribbean. Mariam Bersh has more.
According to U.S. President Donald Trump, the United States, which has deployed warships and a nuclear-powered submarine to the Caribbean, officially as part of an anti-drug operation, says it has destroyed 3 boats involved in drug trafficking since the beginning of the month, resulting in the death of around 10 people. The Attorney General said in a statement sent to the press that the use of missiles and nuclear weapons to murder defenseless fishermen on a small boat are crimes against humanity that must be investigated by the UN. Mr. Saab strongly condemned the actions of the United States against the Venezuelan nation, demanding that the UN open a thorough investigation into these events. The US President posted a new video on his social platform showing what he described as a US strike that killed 3 narco-terrorists on a boat carrying drugs bound for the United States. Venezuelan Defense Minister Vladimir Pedrino Lopez declared the same day that the US military deployment in the Caribbean and these strikes constituted an undeclared war. In response, on Wednesday, Caracas launched 3 days of military exercises on the Caribbean island of La Orchila, about 65 kilometers from the mainland.
With this, we come to the end of this news bulletin. We leave you now for the rest of our programs, with our weekly programs, and we'll meet you again tomorrow for a fresh edition of our news bulletin. Thank you and bye-bye.